Hello and welcome to another edition of the TimeFlies podcast. I'm your host, Dario. And now that the NBA season is over, just like I said in my previous episode, I am going to be putting out more episodes talking about what I love the most, movies. Man, I was just looking at the list of episodes that I've been putting out, and like it's just been all basketball, 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 basketball. And like I'm trying to get back into the movies, but basketball has been in the forefront of my mind. But the season is over, and I want to talk to you about the movies that I've been watching. So I've been to the movies for the last few months. Seen a lot of different movies. I've seen In a Violent Nature, which I'll do an episode about. I've seen Fall Guy. I've seen Civil War. I've seen I Saw the TV Glow. The Bike Riders is coming out tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll be able to see that soon. So a lot of movies, the summer's here, and a lot of movies that I've seen and a lot of movies that are coming out. But the most recent movie that I've seen is Bad Boys Ride or Die. And that's what this episode is going to be about. I'm just giving my thoughts. I'm giving my takes about what I liked from the movie, what I didn't like, some hot takes that maybe people might not like to hear, but whatever. That's why I'm here. Okay, so as far as Bad Boys Ride or Die, the first thing I'll do is definitely give you a spoiler warning because I'll tell you not necessarily what happens in the movie, like play by play, but in my description of the movie, I might say something that you guys might not like that you would have liked to seen in the movie without anybody spoiling for you. But that's my warning. So if you don't want to listen to this episode, first of all, if you're watching this or listening to this on any of the podcast streaming platforms and YouTube, salute. Thank you so much for the support. But okay, Bad Boys Ride or Die, my description of it, if I'm picking up the old school VHS tape at Blockbuster and I'm turning it around and they give you that paragraph summary, Will Smith character, Mike Lowry, and Martin Lawrence, I totally forgot Martin Lawrence character name. That's how you know how I feel about the movie. But in the movie, Will Smith character and Martin Lawrence's character, their captain, played by the infamous Joey Pantoliano. I forgot. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. But basically, what ends up happening is there's been a really big news report, and the news report is saying that Will Smith's character and Martin Lawrence's character, they found out that their captain, Joey Pantoliano, was basically in cahoots with the cartel. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, they as soon as the report is broken, like they don't believe it, they don't buy one bit of it, and they're trying to disprove it, they're trying to discredit it. They become number one on the most wanted list. And the cartels are after them, and just everybody's after Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, which makes them fugitives. And you end up finding out that the cartel, they're the ones that broke the report of Joey Pantoliano being in cahoots with them. Then the main cartel guy is actually the father in Euphoria. I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head, but he's actually Nate Jacobs, played by Jacob Elordi. It's his father. That character in Euphoria, the actor, that is the actor that's playing the head of the cartel in this movie, in Bad Boys Ride or Die. So another character that's added into the story is actually Joey Pantoliano's character. Again, I'm sorry if I'm definitely mispronouncing his name, but I'm trying to go through with it. The daughter is introduced, and the daughter is actually played by the actress from Better Call Saul, and I think the actress's name is Rhea Seehorn. She's Better Call Saul's love interest. I didn't finish that show, man. I thought I saw like the first two seasons, but I'll definitely pick it up at one time because Breaking Bad is one of the best TV shows of all time, and Vince Gilligan's universe is one of the best universes of all time. But yeah, Rhea Seehorn plays the daughter of Joey Pantoliano's character. And throughout the movie, there's a little bit of friction between Will Smith and Rhea Seehorn. So Mike Lowry's character and Rhea Seehorn's character. There's a little bit of friction because in the movie previous to this one, Bad Boys for Life, we end up finding out that Will Smith has a half son, and Will Smith's half son is the reason why Rhea Seehorn's character, her father, is dead. Guys, I'm trying to do my best. I saw the movie a week ago, so I'm trying to do my best and try to like give you the details as much as possible, but it's not as fresh as in my mind. And what I really want to talk about, I really want to talk about just the movie itself and just like how weird it's getting. But hopefully I did an okay job. Don't kill me in the comments. But now, what I really want to talk about, I really want to talk about just how weird it's getting. Why are they making this Bad Boys thing? They're trying to turn it into like the Fast and Furious universe. I don't like it. In this movie, really what I noticed was that they're mentioning Will Smith and Martin Lawrence as the bad boys. Like that is one of the most that's the biggest atrocity I've ever seen in just movies in general. Why are they referring to Will Smith's character and Martin Lawrence's character as the bad boys? I think there was actual scene in the movie where they put their faces on the TV and because there was like some sort of news telecast and they say something like, okay, and these are the two men that are wanted by the FBI, by the police, and they referred to them as the bad boys. It was one of the most cringeworthy things I've seen, one of the most cringeworthy things I've heard. in movies in general. And yeah, you can see that they're really trying to build like this universe. Bad Boys Part 3, Bad Boys for Life was a cool addition to the Bad Boys movies. It was cool. It was a nice lighthearted entertainment movie. And this one was kind of the same thing. It was you're not trying to go, don't go in there looking for a good movie. Don't go in there for a good storyline. Just go in there just trying to have a good time, which it was. It was a good time. I saw it on Saturday night, got a good bucket of popcorn with me, and I was just looking to have a good time. But then when I'm hearing them refer to Will Smith as Martin Lawrence as the bad boys, and then what I'm seeing them trying to do is add characters to build this bigger universe, keeping Will Smith's half son. And again, spoiler warning, at the end of this movie, he gets to get away. So he's definitely gonna come back in part five, or whatever movie it is that he returns, he's gonna come back. And then Rhea Seehorn's character, you see she's gonna be a big part moving forward. Like they're just trying to do too much, man. They're just trying to do too much. I don't like it. And this was just Bad Boys Part One and Part Two. Man, I just love the feeling of it. I definitely had more of a recollection when Bad Boys 2 came out. I think Bad Boys 2 came out in 2003, and that's when I was like 13. Bad Boys Part 1 came out, I don't know, 97, 96, 98. So I was younger. So it was just a movie to me. But Part 2, when it came out in 2003, like I said, I was 13. So I was a little bit more mature, and I was able to see the ideas being put together of a storyline and how to like connect it with the first movie. I was able to see Will Smith's acting, Martin Lawrence acting, and just the feeling of going to the movies and having a good time at the summer. And on top of that, the soundtrack that came out with that movie, Diddy, even though he's definitely been canceled in today's culture, but at the time in 2003, Diddy and Bad Boy were like one of the biggest things moving. So like that was also a big marketing ploy, the soundtrack being done by Diddy and Bad Boy, and then getting all the Nelly, getting a whole bunch of artists to go with the movie. It was a lot. It was a really good time. But fast forwarding to Bad Boys Ride or Die, it's just like, dude, what are you guys doing? And then on top of that, the cameos, like specifically DJ Khaled, they kill off DJ Khaled, thankfully, thank God. And he wasn't a big part of Bad Boys Part 3, Bad Boys for Life, but he had a cameo there. And it's just like, dude, what are you guys doing? You guys are just doing the things to get money grabs. Like, it doesn't even seem like they're trying anymore. It's just like, who's the studio that puts it out? I want to say Universal, but I could be wrong. And I also want to say Sony, but I could be wrong as well. But if it's one of those two studios, and I think I'm gonna go with Universal. Universal is just like, man, let's just go with what we know. Bad Boys is we always know if we put it out in the summer, we know it's gonna make money. And actually, when Bad Boys came out, which was last weekend, I saw on Instagram that Bad Boys, the franchise, has officially passed the 1 billion mark. So great, cool, 1 billion mark, which basically you put it out in the summer, like I said earlier, and you put the marquee names of Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, you're gonna get people's butt in the seats. Now, another thing that bothered me, what in the hell are they doing with Martin Lawrence's character? Martin Lawrence's character has been degraded as this guru of a character. Like he had a near death experience in the beginning of the movie, and then the rest of the movie, you see him like he goes in between dimensions of like when he was about to die and he was talking to the captain, and the captain is telling him it's not your time. Like what type of movie are we doing? Like if this is not just an action summer blockbuster hit movie anymore. Now they're trying to tie in these kind of like intense stories and intense storylines, and they're making Martin Lawrence be like this guru and this guy who's like, I know what life is about. I know how to move forward in life. I know why I was put on this earth. Like, man, like I keep saying that throughout this whole episode, but what are we doing? Why are we degrading Martin Lawrence's character to this? It's just let's just keep it simple. Will Smith is the action star, Martin Lawrence is the comedic relief, and that's it. We don't need to do this. Martin Lawrence has a near-death experience, and now he's just like the Dalai Lama, and he's able to see when Will Smith is gonna die, and he's able to intervene like on some Final Destination shit. Like I said earlier, the addition of Rhea Seehorn, who's a great actress, but like and the addition of Will Smith's half son, like I don't know the name of the actor, I'm sorry, but what are we doing, man? And now let's get into the nitty gritty. Now, I said in the beginning of this video and the beginning of this episode that there was going to be a take that might kill me in the comments. Time and time again, I find myself, whenever the topic of Will Smith comes up, I find myself, I don't want to say hating, but I would probably say critiquing Will Smith's career. Now, for some reason, I feel like people put Will Smith in the same category as a Denzel Washington, put Will Smith in the same category as a Morgan Freeman, as a Lawrence Fishburne. And I'm here to put an end to all that. Will Smith does not deserve to be in the same category as Lawrence Fishburne, Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, the elite of elite Black actors. Now, when you start talking about Black actors and just the different levels of being elite, Denzel is number one. He's the creme de la creme. Nobody's topping Denzel, but Will Smith does not deserve to be in the list. Where Will Smith deserves to land is action star. Let's put Will Smith in the action category. Will Smith has, I don't even know if it's a handful of examples that I can point to as far as give me the acting examples that Will Smith really moved you. Give me the movies that Will Smith put on such an acting performance that you were like, man, you walked out of that theater going, man, Will Smith, man, like I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he transformed into this character. I can't believe he was able to display this type of emotional range. Like, in my opinion, The Pursuit of Happiness, I think, is Will Smith's best acting performance. And I was having this conversation with my boys. They were talking of, we were just throwing movies out there. They named I, Robot, of course. They named Independence Day, of course. They named Men in Black, of course. Those are all action movies. Those are all movies where like you see a glimpse of Will Smith's acting ability, acting chops. For the most part, people went to go see those movies because it's Will Smith's name and you see Will Smith in action fighting aliens. Now, Will Smith's performance in Ali, that's kind of in like in no man's land because in my opinion, this is just my opinion, again, don't kill me in the comments. Will Smith's performance as Muhammad Ali was definitely a good performance. But if you want to have the argument, Jamie Foxx absolutely just danced all over Will Smith's performance. Definitely didn't get an Oscar for it as his best supporting actor. I think he might have been nominated. I don't think he won, but I'm pretty sure he was nominated for best supporting actor. But Will Smith's performance as Muhammad Ali, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was cool. I think it was cool. But then as far as the movie Ali itself, you can also look at it as an action movie. Will Smith is Muhammad Ali fighting George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle. Like again, that's why I kind of have it in no man's land. It's really hard to depict if it's like an action movie or if you can depict it as one of Will Smith's better performances. Then you have other examples. You have 7 Pounds. Zoe Saldana was in that movie, I believe. You have Focus with Margot Robbie in that movie. But like are we talking about those movies? Are we talking about Will Smith's performances? I feel like if you're gonna have Will Smith in the category with Denzel Washington, which absolutely is just, I am never gonna allow that ever. But if you're gonna have it, and if you're gonna have the argument, you need to point to examples where the performances that he had lasting impact. Denzel Washington, you have Glory, you have Training Day, you have Fences. One of my personal favorite performances from Denzel Washington. You have Virtuosity. No, I'm kidding. Virtuosity was definitely not part of one of Denzel's best performances, but it's one of my favorite movies, period. And it's definitely one of my favorite Denzel Washington movies. Of course, how can I forget Malcolm X? Oh yeah, of course. How can I forget The Hurricane? Like look at these performances that I'm mentioning with Denzel Washington that have lasting impacts. Performances that you can point to this day and be like, his performance in Training Day, where he made me believe that he was the worst person on the earth, that he was a scum of the earth, the most dirtiest cop that there's ever been, that ever existed. Glory, when there was that scene where he was being whipped and that one tear dropped from his eye, I still get chills watching that scene. Going back to Will Smith, what performances can you point to that have lasting impacts? The Pursuit of Happiness, undoubtedly, that's one of his better performances. But then after that, I don't really know. And right now, freestyling on the spot, another couple of performances that I can point to aren't even movies. They're actually The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Everybody knows what I'm about to say. Everybody say it with me. The dad episode. Yeah, when his dad shows up and then he leaves him hanging in the same episode. And then he has that amazing soliloquy at the end of the episode talking to Uncle Phil how he doesn't need him, how he learned how to shave, how he learned how to ask women out, how he learned how to play basketball. That scene, it still gives me chills. Every time I watch that scene, just like everybody else on earth, when they watch that scene, they still get teary-eyed. Another example from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the episode where Carlton takes drugs and they go to prom and they find out that Will actually admits that it was his drugs. And he apologizes to the whole family. And he apologizes to Uncle Phil and he's embarrassed and he's shameful and he starts crying. It's his body language and those two performances from Will Smith, chef's kiss. But again, those are TV performances. Why hasn't he been able to translate those performances into movies? That's just my personal gripe. Don't get me started on the Oscar slap with Chris Rock. How are you going to do that to another black man? Okay, I get it. He made a joke about your wife and the hair condition. I forgot the name of the condition. Forgive me. But like, man, you don't go on stage when millions of people are watching and slap another black man. What are you doing, bro? And at the time, Will Smith, you're regarded and you're looked at as one of just the most likable people in the world, bro. But all of this stuff, I hate to say, man, but all this stuff, like, it really made an impact on me. And I look at Will Smith differently. What were the movies that have come out since that Oscar slap? Emancipation came out on Apple TV, and I think he's a slave or a slave owner. I didn't even watch it. I didn't watch it. But have you heard anything from his performance in that movie? I didn't see any articles being written about his performance and how he won the hearts of Americans again after that performance, Emancipation. No. Then this movie's come out. I think those have been the only two things that's come out since the Oscar slap. And I think more recently, I forgot, I just saw an article being published by Deadline or True Hollywood Reporter that he signed on to do another movie, but I forgot what type of movie it was. If it was action, crime, or comedy, I forgot what it was. But he hasn't really been doing a lot since that Oscar slap. Again, I hate to say it, but like since that Oscar slap, like I'm looking at the way he moves and I'm looking at the projects that he's picking up, and I'm looking to see what he's trying to do to get back in the good graces of people. Now, of course, he might not care, which of course he has every right to not care, and he doesn't give a fuck, and he's just gonna move on, and he's gonna keep moving the way he's moving, which is fine. He's Will Smith, he can do that. I definitely look forward to seeing what he was gonna be tackling, the type of roles that he was gonna be taking on. And now it's kind of like, yo, dude, like you're just picking up things to pick up things. Like Emancipation came out after the slap, and it wasn't a slap. It wasn't a slap amongst people. I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't see any articles. That ain't not word of mouth. A lot of people weren't talking about it. Okay. So then what does he do after that? He goes and does something that he knows is gonna work. He knows that he's gonna put his name back in the limelight. He goes back to what he knows. He goes back to what popped him off. He goes back to Bad Boys. Shit, I would not be surprised if I see him sign on for a Wild Wild West sequel, if I see him sign on for Independence Day Part 3, because he didn't even do Part 2. And he didn't do Part 2 because of Suicide Squad. Respect to him because Independence Day Part 2 was absolutely just doo-doo nuggets. It was an abomination to cinema. And I remember at the time he was talking about that he had an opportunity to go back to Independence Day, or he had an opportunity to explore a character in Deadshot or Killshot. I forgot the name of the character, but it was one of those two, and I think it was Deadshot. But he had an opportunity to explore a brand new character and really expand his range. And I respected that of Will Smith because he could have went back to what he knows to what really popped him off as far as a movie star, Independence Day. But he decided to go the other route, and I respect that of him. But then look at Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad was not looked at, was not regarded as one of the better films. Now you can talk about the whole David Ayer cut and how that movie was totally different than what the studio actually wanted to see and what they actually put out. And I'm definitely one of the people that want to see the David Ayer cut because that David Ayer gave my boy Shia LaBeouf the opportunity to star in Fury, but tying it back into Bad Boys, man. My recommendation, like if you're looking to have a good time, literally just turn your brain off and just not think of anything and not having to worry about acting performances and like, oh, what are they gonna do with this story here? How are they gonna expand the universe? Like, if you're not really trying to think and you're just trying to go to the movies or rent it on VOD, have popcorn, have pizza, like have a good time with your friends, your girl, your wife, whatever, on a Saturday night, I definitely recommend this movie. I definitely recommend having a good time, having good laughs. But anything beyond that, it's chop. It's clip. Don't be expecting anything more serious from Will Smith, from the movie itself. No, don't expect that. Will Smith, where he is in this point of his career, it's a little dicey, man. I don't know where he goes from here. I 100% almost forgot to mention this. It's been announced that they're going to be doing I Am Legend 2, and Will Smith's co-star is Michael B. Jordan. Another prime example of Will Smith hanging on to something to stay relevant. And on top of that, attaching Michael B. Jordan, who is one of what, the top three, top five, just popular actors in Hollywood right now. The amount of examples that I'm putting out in front of you guys that Will Smith is like in a really weird spot in his career, like I don't know what else I can say. I Am Legend was a great movie. Again, you're now looking at that movie for his acting chops. He had moments in it. He had moments, but it's not a consistent body of work as far as like this is one of the performances that moved me from Will Smith. No, it was a great action movie, and they're actually going with the I think it was the alternate or yeah, it was an alternate scene in the DVD where it's an alternate ending where actually Will Smith does survive. And there's been a lot of articles being put out. And that's actually the ending that they're rolling with, which is why Will Smith is even able to make a sequel to that movie. So, man, Will Smith, where he is in his career, like I keep saying in this episode, is very interesting. And I feel like I'm not the only person that's looking at Will Smith a little side-eyed after that Oscar slap on Chris Rock. Like, yo, he has a lot to make up, bro. But guys, I know this episode was all over the place. This is my first episode talking about movies again. So give me a little bit of time to get back into the groove of things. But that's it for today's episode, guys. If you're listening to this episode on any of the podcast streaming platforms, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. That'll be a really big help. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you are watching my face right now on YouTube, please remember to hit that thumbs up. And more importantly, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be coming out with more videos, especially now that the NBA season is over. I got the other movies that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. So if you want to hear people talking about movies, critiquing a movie, or acting performances, I'm the guy. I am the place that you need to be. But until next time, guys, I'll check you out on the next episode of the Time Flies podcast. Peace.